think we're on.
Here we go.
We're whispering today.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Florida's #1 hockey podcast, the Cats and Balls. Round 3, baby. 3, 2, 1.
All of a sudden, he's a Panthers fan. All of a sudden, he's a hockey guy. Producer Ben and Ross the boss is here interning. At some point, we got to get a camera on him. It is Florida's favorite hockey podcast. It's also Florida's most watched hockey show. So welcome inside, everybody. The beautiful Cats and Bolts studios. Rod Peterson here, Sarina Taylor there. Ben, it's the Eastern Conference Final episode.
Eastern
That's
Conference
the title.
Final.
Write it down. And we're a game into it. We're live on YouTube. I see Joshua Dorr, my guy's already chiming in. He's like, what's going on? What's going on is the Florida Panthers are up 1-0 Florida. Sarina on the Carolina Hurricanes after a 5-2 victory in Game 1. We got a lot to get to here. But I actually picked Carolina to win last night, and they jammed it down my throat.
Well, this is what happens when you get Bobrovsky. Someday the camera will come. There we go. This is what happens.
We have an intern. Go easy on him.
It's not even his fault.
How do you know?
Because I know. Because I can see Ben shitting himself back there.
Okay.
He's like, scrambling. From what I understood, I honestly didn't watch any of it. Just I was so, I'm still battling this whatever. It's better.
You're good.
But I'm dead asleep by 8:30 every night. I mean, I can't even shake this completely. But from what I understood, Bob stood on his head because my Oilers friends are messaging me going, somebody's got poison this bitch because this is literally, it's the Bobrovsky show again. And I'm like, well, that's what he does. That's what Bob does. When he has to. There was times in Game 7 against Toronto that he didn't have to, like the entire second period. Didn't have to do anything. So, but I feel like that game last night came up fast. And it's been a hot minute since the Panthers had to play in another series 2 days after they ended one.
Unbelievable. That's why I picked Carolina to win.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
The momentum, though. I mean, the Panthers came off a huge road win in Toronto, which, let's be honest, it was a meltdown by the Leafs. Let's call it like nothing other than a meltdown by the Leafs. The first period was a great period. It was, Florida dominated the first probably, I think it was like 10 minutes of that game, and then it just flipped like a switch. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is going to be a really good Game 7. And typical Leafs fashion, they shit it.
Are you reading my diary?
No.
Because I have these things written down.
Well,
no, you're good. She's on a roll. We don't stop her when she's on a roll. Continue.
Well, there's some shit I want to talk about today too, but I'm caffeinated, so this is going to be a good one.
It's always good.
But the Panthers have not played in 2 days without more than a day rest in back-to-back series. I can't even remember the last time. Last year didn't they go to games? Either way, they didn't have to play 2 days later. And I know it has to do with the rink and what else is going on there, but why they started the Western Conference Final after the Eastern Conference Final, which ended later, it's just so weird but going into the Stanley Cup Final last year, Edmonton had to do the same thing.
Yeah.
They had to go after 1 day rest, and it's just the way it is, but I think that was good momentum for the Panthers.
Yeah, well, clearly, but to me, momentum matters until it doesn't. I'm still a big thing on rest. Oh my God, you don't think the Panthers would have loved to have been done with the Leafs in 5? You know what I mean? I know momentum's the thing,
sure.
But I'm seeing all the commentary. I watched the game, and people are the pundits, which we're going to get to that maybe we shouldn't listen to the pundits, but they're like, this was an easy game for the Panthers. I'm like, no games are easy. The Panthers play a style of game that is exhausting on them, let alone the other team.
Paul Maurice said it perfectly. This was not a 6-goal game.
No.
He's like, this was a 1-goal. He's right. It was a good game. You could just, in the second period, the Panthers weren't doing anything special. They didn't need to, which is the style of hockey they play. You could see the Leafs falling apart. You could see it. We've all watched the Leafs in Canada growing up on Hockey Night in Canada. Every single Saturday night, we watch those guys. And it has happened decade after decade. You can see it coming. You can see the disconnect. You can see the Morgan Riley's got to regroup behind the net a little too many times here. You could see it happening. I was like, this is not going to be good. And I'll tell you another thing. I spent probably the second period with my dad on the phone. Seth Jones had probably the best game I've ever seen him play. Everything he did was right in that game. He anticipated. He did everything he needed to do. And in my opinion, him and Marchand were the difference in that game.
So we have a lot of things to get to here. Ben, I feel wrong not including you.
Ben
so
doesn't give a shit.
Can you read? Okay,
Hey,
we'll stop after this.
Hey, stop.
Can
No,
you
I did
read
get- I did.
the last...
The last one?
The last four.
Yeah.
Two
okay.
from Ben.
So first
from
off,
Josh.
Ben Cobbs.
Yeah.
Hey,
Benny.
Rod, and welcome back, Sarina. Glad you're feeling better.
Bitch, I was back last week, Ben. What the
Yeah,
hell?
so-
Ben wasn't here.
Come on,
Cobbs. Ben Cobbs was. He was working. Continue.
Joshua Dorr. I had Panthers losing last night in a tight game by 1. Was a bit off there.
Yeah, me too.
Rod said, "Can FAU hockey and adaptive get a shout out?"
That's from Benny Cobbs.
That's from Ben.
Always.
Yeah.
Of course.
So there you go.
Always
and
a
the last
shout out.
one.
And then the last one from Joshua Dorr. Thoughts on the
Oh,
Gosh's Bear
Gosh,
shot?
despair.
I can't get it either, so don't worry, man.
You did pretty good.
It's all good.
I got Ross helped me on that one.
That's a difficult one.
So thoughts on the Gosh's Bear shot at
Marchand.
Marchand? I was friends with Shane in middle school, and that was a scum move.
Yeah, so it was like, let's say halfway through the third period, the Panthers had a huge lead, and Shane Gostisbehere fired the puck at Marchand in the middle of the game. Marchand went after him, got, I don't know what, you got a 10 for sure, and I think a double minor, and Gostisbehere got nothing. But I'm like, so he hates Marchand. Everybody's making such a big deal out of it. You said you didn't see the game, but you probably saw the highlights.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. What do I think about it? It's not the first time that's happened. I'm sure, me and Ross were talking about some calls in the rule book earlier. I'm sure that's in the rule book. I don't know what the penalty is for shooting a puck at somebody.
Would be unsportsmanlike.
But he didn't get called for that.
It'd be a 2-minute unsportsmanlike.
Right, but he didn't get a call.
Right.
So
Regardless, Marchand did exactly what he was supposed to do every day of the week. That is exactly what I would want somebody on my team to do every day of the week.
drop the gloves and go after him.
100%, because you know why? It's over now. Sure, Gostisbehere is going to be labeled. Remember when Daniel Alfredson did it in Ottawa? He took a slapper, and it still pisses people off that Daniel Alfredson did that 20 friggin' years ago, or 25, whatever it was. He just got labeled as that guy. And I don't think what Alfredson did was a slap shot. But it's like, I think that it's one of those things where that stuff has to get sorted in the first round of a 7-game series.
First game.
The first game of a 7-game series, because it's just going to be back and forth until something finally gets done about it.
Well,
that was the Lightning's problem. They didn't do shit when Kucherov did this or when that. Like, do it.
One last thing, Joshua says, you do that to someone, you have to expect them to go after you. Not necessarily in the playoffs, but the Panthers had a big lead, and it didn't affect anything. And I hope it is over. If you say it's over, I hope it is over. I'm already tired of hearing about it. There's another thing that I'm tired of hearing about, by the way. And this way, gotta get into some delicious talk here, sports talk. It's not about the game. You hate talking about stuff like this. I kind of like it. Hey, Kelly Francis checking in. She says, hey, Rod, I like your summer pink shirt. Thank you. It's Sunday Swagger was a Christmas gift a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Where'd it come from? California?
I don't remember.
Something like that.
I got 2 of them. He's got like a popsicle looking one and then that one.
Yeah, the very bright yellow one. So I got, Leafs series leftovers here. We're going to talk about the Leafs. We're going to talk about Leafs media.
All of it.
All of it, and we're going to do it right now. Carolina is the most boring team in hockey. I'm already tired of this series, and we're 1 game in. I hear it from all the Leaf media. I'm sick of them. Chris Pronger said it this morning on the radio. I was listening. He's become the latest, greatest media star, but it's because he's good. And he goes, the Leafs media openly cheers for the Leafs. He goes, they're fans. He couldn't believe it. And he's on Sportsnet, so he's with them on the set. He can't believe that they cheer for the team. So that's one thing. But I turned on the radio the other day here, WQAM, shout out Trevor Harris, and I'm listening to Joe Rose and your boy Steve Goldstein. Very first thing out of their mouth is the disrespect on the TNT broadcast of the Panthers. And Goldie's like, oh, we don't get the respect down here in Florida. And I'm like, it's not just Goldie. Everybody's talking about it. The pro-Leaf bias. And now it's the anti-Panther bias. Who cares?
Wait, let me get this straight. WQAM doesn't talk about hockey 364 days a year. And when they do, they're upset. Guys.
It's this.
Like, come on. It's just, they need something to talk about.
That's what it is. But I'm just saying, they don't hate the Panthers. Can we all move on? I've been dealing with this for years. Talk about the games. But as you say, they won't do that.
Ew.
But I'm seeing it on social media. And of course, this is me. I'm not going to change everybody, so I need to deal with it, and that is staying away from social media. They don't hate the Panthers. I don't believe the TNT panel. And as far as Paul Bissonnette goes, and his thing with C's, by the way, I try to get Caesar in here. He was working today. Big C's is working, but we're going to get him in and park him in right here.
We're going to wheel him right
We're going
in.
to put him right here. The Paul Bissonnette C's thing is the greatest thing of the playoffs. So all of that. I think the biggest thing where we'll tie this in with the Panthers is after Game 7, and thank you for being patient as I land the plane. Paul Maurice, Brad Marchand, and Matthew Tkachuk all take a shot at the Toronto market after Game 7, saying, this is a great team. They played hard. You're going to rip them apart, but they're a great team. Tkachuk goes, this would be a great team in another market, but because of the circus they have to deal with, i.e. you people, the media, that's why they lose. To me, they're not wrong. But do they even need to say it? It's sort of like Slapshot. Here's your trophy.
Here's your trophy, you bum.
Yeah, like you took it, you won, leave. Why would you take a shot on your way out of town?
Okay,
here we go.
Here we go. All right. Get it ready. When I first saw it, it was Tkachuk's comment that I saw first. And my initial reaction was, he's not talking shit about the Leafs. He is literally saying, I played in a Canadian market for quite a while. I understand the pressures here. He's not talking shit about the Leafs. But that was the only thing I saw.
He's talking about the market.
Right. And I was like, guys, like, I don't want anybody to think, especially in Pantherland, that he was talking shit about and like talking about that it's a better place to play here. That's not what he's saying. He's not. He's saying, I did it. Then when I saw what Paul Maurice and Brad Marchand said, I mean, they're all right. They're right. But people are getting wild about this whole thing. Wild. They're like, wow, how come when Sundin and Gilmore and blah, 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 and those guys were there, they didn't have to deal with it? They did. But guys, in 1993, Instagram and Facebook didn't exist. That's why we're in the position we're in right now, because of social media. And on top of the media itself, if you guys don't think there's a difference playing in Sunrise as opposed to downtown Toronto fan-wise, guys, there just is. Let me tell you something. In Edmonton, if Edmonton shit the bed every year like Toronto has been, there would be just as much of a fury. Canadian hockey fans become unhinged in the playoffs. Unhinged. There's no logic. There's no sense. There's no nothing. They become a different human being. I can attest to it. I'm the same way.
She does.
It's completely different. So the pressure, and I said this, I think last week, you cannot put a captaincy on an American-born player in Toronto or Montreal. You can't. It doesn't work. Yeah. And the pressure, it's not even Austin Matthews' fault. He's just not wired to deal with it. Just like Tkachuk and Gaudreau were not wired to deal with it in Calgary. I've said that too. It's just a different market. And as far, everybody's bagging about Marner. Dude, Marner was the least of their problems. He's just in that core that they talk about all the time. There's a lot of pressure on those guys because they make a lot of money.
Well, so that's what's not new, because there's pressure on the Dolphins and they're big guys, right? It's it's market specific thing. But the biggest deal, what they're saying, and I find it very interesting that you would almost defend Tkachuk.
Well, because he wasn't being a dick.
Right. And he wasn't wrong.
No,
right?
No.
But the point here is our good friend Craig Button. Did you meet Craig in Calgary?
I'm glad you brought this up.
Okay. He is now TSN, to me, the best hockey analyst on TSN. He was the general manager of the Calgary Flames. He scouted for the Leafs, and he was the assistant GM of the Dallas Stars for 20 years. He was my dad's boss. I've known him since I was 15. He says this is laughable, that there's too much pressure on these guys. They're adored here. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Craig. I can't agree with you. Them going into Game 7 in their own building, who wouldn't be favored in Game 7 at home? You should be. The Leafs weren't. The Panthers were favored by 1 goal going on the road. Who does that? But it's like the odds makers knew the Leafs would crack.
But it's also
and they did.
Also the odds makers. It's just the way the series went. So it's like more technical and statistical. But love Craig Button. You guys down here don't really ever watch him, but he's just, speaking of unhinged. I mean,
he's losing his mind.
He went off, and I feel like he's doing everything in his power to get fired because of some of the stuff he says. But he was really passionate about the fact that he doesn't feel that they should have a pot to piss in here as far as being pressured. I completely disagree.
Yeah, me too.
There are reasons, guys, that there are sports psychologists in this world. Goalies have a psychologist, as they should. They're fucking crazy. There's other sports. Every sports has a psychologist for a reason. You know, there's a lot of pressure. Like, I'm not a Austin Matthews fan, but you're the captain. You carry a lot of, but there's more to it than that. I don't blame him solely for what happened.
I think it would take more than a Canadian. We can't pin this on Austin Matthews, the fact that the Leafs haven't won a Stanley Cup since 1967. And I'm not saying you are, but they got deeper problems than an American captain.
There's a whole bunch of deep problems there. But I just think that it's the little things, like having a non-Canadian captain. They had Matt, like I said last week, they had Matt Sundin for years. Didn't do shit. They liked him in Toronto, but it's different. It's different.
Yeah.
Saku Koivu was the captain in Montreal for a long time, and I nearly fell over when they had a Finnish captain. I was like, is this a joke? It's bizarre to me.
And they didn't win then either.
And they didn't, but it's just, there's a reason that these teams, they all, like Marty St. Louis as Montreal's coach, Edmonton sticks with their guys. You know, these guys go to the team. Look at Rick Tocchet went back to Florida or to Philly. That's the right fit for him. You got to get the right fit for your market.
Well, I don't know what it's going to take. I know this isn't the Leaf show. It's the Florida hockey show, but we talk about the NHL in Florida. To be honest, I thought Mike Babcock would be the perfect guy for the Leafs, and if he couldn't be successful there, nobody can, and I don't think anybody can.
Let me tell you something. I'm glad you brought that up. Mike Babcock, great hockey coach. Pat Quinn was there, great hockey coach. Pat Burns was there, great hockey coach. They've had the most incredible coaches there. Edmonton did the same thing. And the most success the Oilers have had is coming from an unknown coach in Chris Knobloch. Why? Because he's a coach. He coaches the players. He might not have a lot of NHL experience, but if you don't get the guys to like you, you're done. Look at all the shit that Matt Duchene got into in Ottawa when he was flapping at the mouth, and he's been shipped all over the place now. Matt Duchene's a great hockey player. Nobody cares to have him on their team.
Well, he's in Dallas. He's doing pretty well there.
Sure, but he's been, it just, you get labeled because Matt Duchene was caught, I think it was a cab driver or an Uber driver, recorded him and some other players in Ottawa talking shit about their coach. And it got leaked. He put it out there. And that's the kind of stuff that sticks with you. And Patrick Kane has had a lot of bad experiences and whatever. But the thing is, everybody talks shit about Chris Knobloch when Edmonton got him. The guy had zero head coaching experience in the NHL, and he's taken to his team, not even 2 full seasons, to the Western Conference Final 2 years in a row. How can you argue that?
He's from Imperial, Saskatchewan, played for the Red Deer Rebels, coached the Kootenay Ice, and was exiled from the WHL, had to go to the O, came back, and this is where he is. Knobloch's done a great thing.
It's a coach. It's like, again, Mike Babcock, great hockey guy, great knowledge, but the players didn't like him.
We got a new viewer. Ricochet has found us. He's a United States Air Force veteran, and he watches the Rod Peterson Show daily, and now this.
Oh,
Ricochet,
thanks for your service.
Glad to have you. Thank you for your service. He says the teams have to cater to their market. So the opposite of Toronto, quite frankly, is probably here. And it's funny because I went to Chris Sanford's house for supper the other night, and his son Kyle says to me, he goes, how's Tkachuk doing? And I said, he hasn't done a thing. And the reason Kyle brought that up is he's the only guy on the Panthers that he knows. Not Bob, not Barkov, not anybody, but Tkachuk's the face of the team. But Kyle is your typical South Florida hockey fan. He knows, or not even that, sports fan. He's not a hockey. The hockey fans know they're watching right now. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So this is the perfect market for Matthew Tkachuk and Paul Maurice. For me, for everybody. because they can go play hockey and get the hell away from it when they leave the rink.
Well,
it's pretty simple.
It's entertainment value here. You know, that's the whole point of it. It's not entertainment in Toronto. It's not entertainment in Edmonton or Vancouver, Calgary. It's not. This is live and die shit. You know, like I'm sure Winnipeg is still reeling from losing last week. And the Leafs, Florida's already won a game in another series. And I guarantee there's still shit in the Toronto Sun or whatever the hell about it. Guaranteed.
There will be in August.
Yeah.
Let alone, we're talking about it, which is funny because Ricochet writes in, he's a great dude. He goes, so sick of hearing about the Leafs going to take a Red Wing rebuild to get relevant again. He's talking about the Red Wings. That's another topic, obviously. But I said it going into the series. There is not a more overhyped team in sports than the Toronto Maple Leafs. I put it on social media. It pissed all the Leaf fans off, but it's true. People are coming back at me saying, well, no, the Dallas Cowboys. I'm like, the Dallas Cowboys have won a Super Bowl in the color television era. I got to kind of realize that it's been a generation since the Cowboys have won, but at least they have won. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't put the Cowboys in that conversation. The Leafs are overhyped for doing nothing. And that kind of goes back to the pressure. Their fans, I don't like their fans, and a lot of them are close friends of mine. They just don't know how to act. It's embarrassing. Anyways.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, the Leafs thought it was their year. So did the Winnipeg Jets fans. Like, let's be honest.
They're not that different.
Sure, but I said this, again, to my dad. If I was a Leafs fan, I would be just as violent as the rest of them. Because how do you continue to build the team that they've got? Because for what it's worth, they probably have the talent to win the Stanley Cup. All 4 teams right now in the semifinals have the talent to win. That's facts. But it's like Toronto probably could. They could win. Like, if they played well. I just don't understand what the disconnect is. I get why they're pissed off.
I don't know what it is. They're not just toxic, but because they are toxic. Here we are bringing it back and talking about the Leafs again. I'm sick of them too. But we can't stop talking about them. I don't know what it is about them. Ben, can you read the last comment? I know you're busy over there doing whatever you're doing. But
give you a heads up.
Yeah, can you read the last one and who it's from?
Brady Cats fan 16.
Yeah.
If the Canes get swept again in the ECF, what do they need to do?
Eastern Conference Final is the terminology. Thank you for Here's the thing on that. We'll cross that bridge when we get there kind of guy. Oh, what are you laughing at?
Same.
Yeah, it's like there's no point.
Shit. I'm like,
there's no point.
Calm down.
Yeah.
We've said this a million times, guys. Calm down. However, since you asked the question, it's not a bad question. I'm just superstitious. Like, I don't want to fucking think about it. But if you really look at it, I don't think Carolina's really missing anything other than the punch in the playoffs. I feel, and whatever, you guys can feel what you want, I feel like Carolina has one of the most talented teams in the league, probably the most talented in the Eastern Conference.
They're awesome.
They're unbelievable. They're unreal from front to back. Like, Slavin is unbelievable on defense for them. They have so many good players, but nobody really watches them. Right? And so that's why everybody says they're boring. No offense. The Panthers aren't flashy. They're not a flashy team. They don't need to be. Just get it done.
Well, here's one for you. You'll get a kick out of this. So I went to that Gator Pizza place in Meisner Park.
Yeah.
I love that place. Guy behind he's making the pizza. Latino guy. I was wearing a Panthers shirt. He's like, how about those Panthers? I'm not real good at the Latino accent.
That was close. It sounded like Bronx.
Sorry.
How about those Panthers?
Can you do a Latino accent?
Panthers?
Wait. We are not getting ourselves in trouble.
We don't need to get an HR.
I'm Colombian.
You should have seen the last show in here. They were making all kinds of inappropriate comments they can get away from. Anyways.
Pizza guy.
I'm like, what about the Panthers? You going to be watching the game tonight? He's like, of course. He's flipping the dough. And he goes, the Leaf fans, what are they so mad about? I'm like, I don't know. They lost? He goes, yeah, but they're always in it. They're always good. How's that different than Carolina?
Because one team is in Canada, one's in the Southern.
But the point is they both don't get over the hump. And they're talking about blowing up one and not the other one. But they have the same results. If you looked at the records and just took the name off the team, you couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, I don't know. I feel that the major difference between that Carolina has a head coach that has been there for 100 years. It's going to happen. He knows
think
how
you're right.
to win. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Everybody said that to me when Edmonton lost last year. Panthers fans were literally like, girl, it's going to happen.
Cut this clip, please.
But it's Carolina. It's going to happen. They have an incredible head coach that everybody respects. He's been around for a long time and he knows how to win. He won there. So again, stay in-house. Keep it in-house. And I just think that Toronto's biggest problem is that they go through head coach after head coach after head coach. And because I saw Edmonton do it. Pat Quinn went through Edmonton. Todd McClellan went through Edmonton. To all these guys that are great head coaches.
Ralph Kruger
went through Edmonton and they didn't win. When Edmonton hired Pat Quinn, I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. And then nothing. It's got to be the right guy. And I don't think Toronto, same as the Rangers, have had the right guy. Might be good coaches. Like, there's nothing wrong with Gerard Gallant. And
I'll remind you, the Oilers still haven't won with this guy.
No, of course. But also, I'm saying that Edmonton's gone through a million head coaches over the last 25 years. So is Toronto. That's all I'm saying.
This is why she's the best and why it's so entertaining. It's why they love the show. Last week, you said Winnipeg will never win. And I am also not that guy. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. And I'm also a never say never guy. But you're guaranteeing that they won't. And you may be right. But this week, you're saying Carolina will. So you're going out. She's going out on a limb.
At some point, if they keep things the way they are, I know Rod Brindamore just signed a big contract, but let's just say they fired him at the end of the year. Well, that kind of negates what I'm saying. I think their strongest point is that they have good players and they fly under the radar. They fly under the radar.
Well, yeah. And the other thing is, again, we all knew that Toronto would blow it in Game 7. They did crack to the pressure, right?
All the time.
That's what it was. And in Raleigh, with your two reporters, who's going to stir up any pressure there?
Yeah, it's
right. So,
and you know what was also interesting too is that Game 6 between Winnipeg and Dallas. My dad watched the whole game. I didn't get to watch the whole game, but he said Winnipeg probably should have won that game.
It was a sad.
Yeah, it was tough.
Sad night.
It just was one of those things that happened for the second time this year that puts hockey into perspective. It's like, what's really important here? And I can't even imagine. It breaks my heart to even think about it. But it was like, I think that, how do I say this without sounding like a dick?
When have you ever cared about that?
Because I don't want people to take this the wrong way. That timing for Winnipeg switched their mentality like that. It was like, even for their fans, hey, if we don't win, there's bigger things out there. It's not that important.
For those that don't know, their star Mark Scheifele's dad died 24 hours before the game. And, I'm not big on the pundits, but somebody said, and said it very well, if that was any one of us, we'd have been excused from work.
He was excused.
And he played.
Yeah.
Brett Favre-ish. And then he goes out and scores in a 0-0 game. It's all lining up as the greatest story in NHL history, and I'm not exaggerating. But then it goes 1-1 to overtime, and he's in the penalty box.
Yeah.
And they score, and they lose. There was no great story. It was tragedy on top of tragedy. It doesn't get... And then they put the cameras on him, the cruel bastards. It's just TV, I get it. But they put the camera on him in the penalty box, his head's down, and I think I saw him breaking down crying.
I can't...
I couldn't.
Yeah. I feel like... Okay, I also have to say this. Well, first of all, I feel like good hockey guys like Peter DeBoer, they don't even feel good about that shit.
No.
They're happy they won, but the way it went down had to hit every one of them. I'm not a Dallas Stars fan. Never been a fan of the organization. But 2 years in a row, their class has shone through in the playoffs. Blew my mind. The Dallas Stars, as soon as they found out about Mark Scheifele's dad, they made a donation to Kids Sport Canada, which is part of one of his organizations, and they encouraged their fans to do so as well. And their fans did. I've never seen anything like that. Last year, when they were playing Edmonton, and they beat Edmonton in their own barn, they started playing La Bamba like it was a big joke. And when some Oilers fans informed them that the reason that the Oilers play La Bamba is because of Ben Stelter, the child that died from cancer, whatever, they immediately issued an apology and said, that was wrong. We meant no disrespect. We had no idea.
And made donations to the Oilers.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And when I saw Peter DeBoer, like that guy is just a legit head coach. He's just a classy beauty. I mean, he's another guy. He's another guy that Dallas is just like Carolina. Dallas, I said this to my dad the other night. Dallas is the Carolina of the West. Everybody sleeps on them.
Yeah, Saturday night, the NHL Network aired Coffee with the Coaches. I think it was the first installment. Peter DeBoer and Paul Maurice going for coffee. My God, it was the most entertaining thing I've seen. When they were in Finland, the two of them went for coffee and they put a camera on them. When they played junior together, and I want to say the Sioux, Homo was 20 and DeBoer was 18. They took DeBoer's uncle's RV down to Florida from Ontario. It broke down every second day, picked up their buddies on the way. So they got this RV full of guys, and they're like, well, we returned it with the roof off.
Oh my! I need to go watch this.
It's so good. And DeBoer, he goes, I was driving, I didn't know. I took it around the corner of this building and took the top right off it. And Maurice goes, well, there's the same thing in the rink in Sunrise. There's one thing that says 10 feet, another says 8. You just assume they're both 10. He goes, I was going through it, took the top off my vehicle. It was like they were 18 again, telling these stories on NHL Network. It was the funniest thing I've seen. Oh, my God. And I needed a laugh after this because Stacy writes in. Ben, you want to read the last comment from Stacy? And thank you, Stacy. Second last comment. Saw you, Stacy.
Of course. She said that my heart broke when his head dropped after Dallas scored.
Oh, it's terrible. I get zero joy in watching the team that just lost.
Especially that.
I can't. When I watch, I've seen Canada win the World Juniors a million times. You never see a team as devastated as the team that loses in the final of the world. I can't even look at it. I'm like, don't show it. I'm happy we won, but don't show it. I can't see this.
And I feel like the only reason they do is because it's such great television.
Oh my God.
That's why I could never do it. And it's clearly why you could never do it, because we'd never show it.
Yeah, no.
Right?
No.
But they do, and we saw it, and I did. I swear to God, Stacey, if you were watching, like his head was down and his shoulders were going up and down like he was crying. I'm like, I can't. And by the way, when I broadcast the World Juniors in 2012, he was on Team Canada. So no, Mark, he's a great, 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 great guy. Oh my God. But I do say, you said that showed the fans there's more than hockey. I also think this might galvanize that whole outfit, the way they came together in support of him.
That's kind of, I think, what I was trying to get at. I was trying to think of the words to put into it without sounding like the timing was perfect. That's not what I mean. I think that if it would have happened 2 days before or 2 days after, this is a completely different conversation, right? And I think that the Jets fans just hit the brakes and said, okay, we're not going to crawl up these guys' ass this year.
Oh, they didn't say a word, yeah.
No, they didn't. They didn't. And when I saw Oilers fans paying respect to Johnny Gaudreau outside the rink in Calgary, I knew that everything was bigger than the game. That one's still, it's tough. But just seeing the Jets fans, the way they treated Scheifele and just the way that that was absolutely, I mean, just what you got to do.
On the Coffee with the Coach, Ricky Shea, which, by the way, Ricky Shea, we got to get some time together, you and me. You're in South Florida, and I do work with the military, so I'd love to have a coffee with you. He says, I saw that, Rod. It was entertaining. The vibe. Two hockey guys having coffee. Not like I haven't seen it 8 million times for real, but something about that in our hometown, something about that show I was spellbound. It was so good.
I can't believe Paul Maurice is 2 years older than Peter
I know.
DeBoer. Let's talk about that for a second. But B, we miss those conversations. You know, like Rod grew up in an NHL environment, and those conversations were had at our kitchen tables. Everybody had somebody from their hometown that played in the NHL. And so it was like, oh, this guy was at my kitchen table just 2 days ago. And
Logan Pyatt.
yeah, it'd be in the middle of July, and we'd be talking about senior hockey.
Yeah. BW has joined us from Edmonton. He says, finally caught the live podcast. Go Panthers, go. Hey, BW, glad to have you. I will say this about where I learned the game. Somebody was asking me that a while back. It wasn't from playing it. My dad was working for the Prince Albert Raiders, and it was in a McDonald's in Moose Jaw, and with Terry Simpson and Rick Wilson. And the salt and pepper shakers at McDonald's are yellow, white and gray.
Yeah.
And they're about that tall.
Plastic things.
Right. So they had all the pepper shakers on the table, and they were doing this. And I was 11. And I'm learning hockey from the greatest coach, one of the greatest coaches in hockey history, Terry Simpson. He is. Right? So that's where I just sitting there listening to these guys, Yeah. Very lucky way to grow up. You guys do it here with football and whatever your sports are, but ours is Canada.
I love that. For those of you guys who don't know, because some of you have probably never heard what Wayne Gretzky did as a child. And his dad would have him sit down with a piece of paper and a pen and close his eyes watch the TV and draw on the paper as if the TV was the rink, or the paper was the rink, rectangle shape, and just draw. And when the play was over, to look and see where the most intersections were, because that's where the majority of the time where the puck was. So that's why Wayne's dad always said to him, go where the puck's going, not where it's been. And that's why Wayne had a head for the game that nobody else has ever had. He's not the fastest player to ever play the game, but he was the best because of his head.
Ricochet writes in and says, North Florida Panhandle for me. Well, we've been through there. So next time, Ricochet will look you up. How are we doing for time? We're pretty much done. I do got to ask you, while we're sitting here, Edmonton-Dallas series, you're probably happy that I've got Dallas picked in 6?
Oh, when I saw, so for those of you guys that have missed this as well, Rod infamously, especially when he picks against Edmonton, I love that he gets it wrong. So he picked Dallas in 6. And someone commented and he goes, that's funny because you said that both LA and Winnipeg were going to beat them. And I was like, and they're like, I'm like, keep going, Roddy, keep going. Let's rock and roll here.
I was going to say something back to that guy, but I didn't.
Well, you did say something, but it wasn't
I said, I'll remember that. Oh, you saw that. Okay. I was going to say something rude back to him, but I'm learning that's not the way to go. Right, Benny boy?
Well, correct. He wasn't being rude.
Oh, you would think that because you're an Oiler fan. I thought it was rude.
Why?
Because he's an Oiler fan. He's pointing out my mistakes.
How do you know he's an Oiler fan?
I don't know. Maybe the fact he was in an Oiler jersey in his avatar.
I didn't even see that. I just
tipped me
saw
off
that somebody called Rod out for having the wrong picks again.
And he's in an Oiler jersey. I'm sorry. I just assumed he was an Oiler fan. I don't know.
I think this originally started this little battle in 2022.
What?
When you picked Calgary to beat Edmonton.
Yeah, maybe. I don't remember. Look forward, not back.
Well, I remember.
Have we not
Everybody
realized?
picked Calgary to beat Edmonton, to be fair, except for yours truly. But
and Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah, Wayne. But speaking of which, have you guys seen the video of Wayne going into the Dallas locker room after they beat Winnipeg?
I don't think I did.
Oh, boy. It's not becoming.
Why?
Well, he was half in the bag. You could tell.
Wayner was.
Oh, yeah. He was sauced.
It happens.
So he goes in there and he says, congratulations. This is really tough. You guys got a really tough team coming up in Edmonton and blah, 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 blah. And somebody, I don't know who it was, because he was standing there next to Peter DeBoer, and somebody yelled out, who are you cheering for? And he did not answer. And the whole room cracked up. And DeBoer goes, don't put him on the spot like that.
Oh, my God.
And he would not answer. He would not answer. Because Wayne, you know how he is.
It was a Saturday night. He's having a couple pops.
But he's never.
He's diplomatic.
He's not going to cheer against Edmonton. That's a fact. But he was not going to say anything.
That's fantastic.
It was
you
so
got to
funny.
show me that video.
Yeah.
Okay, we're done. Great job, Ross. Amazing job over there, man.
Thank you for
you got a real future in this.
Your phonetic assistance with Gostisbehere.
And Benny boy?
Yeah.
Hit him.
Keep on rocking in the free world. Right in his mind.
He got me in the headshot.
You nailed him, Coach.
Right in his mind.
Right in his
Okay,
mind.
we'll see you next week here on Cats and Balls.
Last week I caught it. This week I got it in